The year 2020 has been absolutely insane when it comes to technology releases. We had both Nvidia and AMD come out with their most powerful graphics cards ever. We also had AMD come out with their most powerful CPUs ever. We had Apple announce and release their brand new iPhone 12 lineup of products, as well as the all-new but much anticipated Apple Silicon computers powered by the M1 processor. And then don't get me started on camera releases. Canon released the R5, the R6, and the recently released Canon C70. And then we also had Sony come out with the mythical unicorn, the Sony a7S Mark III, and then also the more recently released Sony FX6. It's just been one hell of a year when it comes to technology releases. But one of the things that's been the most talked about technology release at the latter half of the year 2020 has actually been the next generation of gaming consoles, the Sony PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. Now I put the word release in quotation marks simply because at least at the time of recording this video, it is fairly difficult to get your hands on one of these next generation of consoles. However, hopefully today's video makes you feel a little bit better about the situation, because in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my experience with this console thus far and probably tell you why you might want to spend your money elsewhere. So first, let me set the stage for this video. So while I personally play some games in my own personal downtime, you could probably categorize me as a gamer, although I'd probably consider myself to more be just an old head with the massive Steam library backlog. I just wanted to say that this is not a gaming channel, and I've actually never done a review on a piece of technology like this, but gaming console cycles only come around but every couple of years, and I do have both of them, so I figured why not make this content piece. Now I'm probably going to get some things wrong and I'm not going to cover every little detail, but just keep in mind this is just my own personal opinion. Now I'm more so looking at the Xbox as a technology platform rather than a gaming console. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with the video. Oh yeah, and if it's your first time to the channel, don't forget to hit the like button and consider subscribing. So originally when Microsoft first announced the Xbox Series X, it was slated to be this revolutionary piece of technology that would even put high-end PCs to shame. They boasted super fast loading times, quick resume technology, and of course, next generation graphics fully equipped with ray tracing technologies. But in reality, I'm not quite sure if they delivered on all these promises. But let's take a step back for a moment and actually take a look at what you're getting for your $500. Now I'm gonna go ahead and spare you guys the repetitive unboxing that you've probably seen a number of times across the internet by now, but I do want to highlight two things that you do get inside of the box, one good and one bad. So starting off with the good, you are going to be getting an HDMI 2.1 cable inside of the box. So this is going to be important if you do have a high refresh rate display or you plan on getting one at some point in the future. This console does support variable refresh rate as well as FreeSync over HDMI 2.1, and an HDMI 2.1 cable is going to be the only way you're actually going to be taking advantage of this actual technology. Now off to the bad. Now inside of the box you are also getting the new but unimproved Xbox Series X controller, which in my opinion is absolutely terrible, especially when you compare it to the last generation. The buttons are really mushy, especially the directional button, and just overall feels a lot cheaper. And then there is the setup process. Now there's actually two elements to this. You've got your hardware and then you've got your software. Now the hardware setup is extremely simple, of course. You plug in your HDMI cable, your power cable, your controller, and then you're pretty much off to the races. But the software side of things, well, that's a whole different story. So in order to set up your Xbox Series X and even the previous generation of Xbox consoles with the latest version of the software, you're going to need to download a companion application, specifically the Xbox application. Now while I do have other hardware that does require a companion application, such as all of my Google devices, this setup process seemed to be much more cumbersome. But once you've completed the setup process and you're actually inside of the operating system, this is where the true quote-unquote Xbox experience actually begins. And this is also where I'd like to focus on three different key areas: the operating system UX/UI, entertainment applications, and then of course, well, games. If you asked me to use one word to describe the Xbox user interface, that word would be confusing. Upon first glance, you're presented with a number of icons that pretty much don't have any context as to what they do until you hover over them for a brief description. And even then, it's pretty clear to see that Microsoft sees the homepage of the Xbox as more of advertising real estate rather than a functional user interface for their console. And because of this approach, you're continuously inundated with advertisements for content upsales for platforms such as Disney+, Xbox Game Pass, and EA Play. And the primary menu options that you would use to operate the console and do things such as launching games, invite friends to groups, and adjust your settings are actually buried inside of a sub-menu that's only accessible by hitting the Xbox button rather than being clearly displayed on your homepage. It's also very clear that Microsoft would like the Xbox platform to be this all-encompassing entertainment hub for your living room needs. This is shown by their continuous advertisement for entertainment applications right on the homepage. Now, the functionality of said entertainment applications is in fact very good, especially considering all of the horsepower you have under the hood of the Xbox Series X. So you're going to have support for all the latest HDR platforms, as well as high refresh rate content if you're actually watching any. And of course, you're also going to find all of the most popular applications out there on the Xbox platform, such as Netflix, Hulu, and of course Disney+. But now, let's talk about the gameplay experience on the Xbox Series X. So I'm fully aware it's going to take a number of years for development studios to take full advantage of the hardware of the Xbox Series X. However, coming into this experience, I did at least expect it to feel, well, next gen. Even when it came to playing older titles, at least that were optimized for the Xbox Series X or S, I did hope that Microsoft would deliver on some of those promises of shorter loading times and also just better graphical fidelity. And my experience was kind of lackluster. Loading up and playing last generation titles and even titles that are optimized for the Xbox Series X and S offered up an experience that had frame skipping, frame dropping, and just overall really long loading times. It just didn't feel next gen. Now, I will say on a more positive note that Quick Resume works fairly well. This is Microsoft's implementation of containerized based applications inside of the operating system, and it's pretty cool to see it in action knowing how some of the back-end technology works. And then finally, when it comes to downloading content on the Xbox platform, while it's slightly faster than last generation, it is still fairly slow. I have a 1 gigabit internet connection at home, and even when I hardwire my console to my internet connection, I'm still not able to get over 250 megabits per second when it comes to any of the downloads. This makes it very clear that this is a cap at the actual server level and not based on what you can get to your home internet connection. And with the platform that heavily relies on downloading very large game files, I'm not sure if this is the experience that you want to be giving out to your users. Alright, so in conclusion, the Xbox Series X is one hell of a feat of technology. They managed to pack this extremely powerful system powered by AMD's RDNA 2 architecture inside of this very small but also very silent box, all for under the price tag of under $500, which I think is an impressive feat within itself. But despite it being a technical masterpiece, the user interface, Microsoft's heavy emphasis on advertising, as well as an overall lackluster in a next generation look and feel when it comes to titles that are currently out in the market at least, just overall make this a pretty bad option when it comes to any next generation console. And if you haven't gotten a chance to get your hand on one, I definitely would say you're not missing out on much, and I would definitely wait. Don't buy one from a scalper. I think in or about a year from now, when it's a much more mature platform, it'll be worth the money. But as of right now, it's just simply not good. But anyway, that's gonna wrap this video up. But I want to know what you guys think. So let me know what you'd rather do with $500 instead of picking up one of these things down in the comment section below. Also, while you guys are down there, if you like this video, hit the like button, and if it's your first time to the channel, consider subscribing. Once again, guys, my name is Fran. Thank you for checking out this video. I'll see you guys in my next one. Now I'm gonna go put this thing back in the box. Something.